Well, the time is just gone 8:29 a.m. and we need to apologize for the delay. There have been severe connection issues that experienced in the area that Salam Media is situated. External factors, factors that have been completely out of our control. So we are starting the show a bit late, but we must apologize to our listeners and to our viewers. We will try and get hold of Andy Worthington a little later on with regard to the Guantanamo Bay dilemma at this point in time and calling for the closure of Guantanamo Bay. But the city of Johannesburg is once again under the spotlight because the city has been without a mayor for a little while again, and this came after the resignation of Tapelo Ahmed from the Al Jama Party, who resigned as the mayor. And once again, parties going in and coalitions, the horse trading that appears to be taking place. And there have been a number of suggestions. We are led to believe that there are up to four candidates that have put their hands up to be the mayor of Johannesburg, and all of it at the end of the day at the expense of the citizens of the city of Johannesburg, while these cat and mouse games continue being played out, going back to caucus, and we've even seen Fikile Mbalula addressing the ANC party with regard to the mayor and making suggestions. And all of this raises questions. Can coalitions really work at local government level? And this is the reason why we are joined by Levi Dow, who is a political analyst, to try and make sense of what is playing out. Levi, good morning to you and welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Yes, we've seen so much playing out, these cat and mouse games that are being played out, and we've even heard about daggers will soon be drawn as another mayor will be elected, and coalitions once again coming under the radar. Just your reading and trying to make sense of what is actually playing out in a city, an important city like Johannesburg, and sitting without a mayor while all the political shenanigans are playing out in the background.
Well, it talks to one thing in Johannesburg and, of course, in other metros. It talks to the fact that we appear to be having a situation where our politicians would mainly focus on positions. They'll focus on repositioning themselves at the expense of ordinary citizens. It also talks to the general neglect of the politicians neglecting the citizens, in the sense that when all these things are happening, politicians are aware that citizens are the victims of everything that is happening in those municipalities. At the same time, it also talks to maturity of our leaders, whether our leaders are matured enough to be able to identify elements that are destructive to their mandate and focus on what is important for all the communities that they actually serve. At the same time, this situation also talks to uh, the degree in which politicians understand the concept of cooperation and working together. Because on the basis of coalitions, politicians are put in one room to be able to work together. And if that element does not ring in the minds of our politicians, we are actually going to see these things happening all the time.
Yes, and also what we're seeing is the blame game being played out, and we've seen, like for instance, the Action SA blaming the ANC and the EFF for collapsing the council meeting a few days ago. we've seen parties like the ANC ditching its new policies on coalitions to keep the other party happy, like, for instance, the EFF. And then we see that, even the involvement of people like Fikile Mbalula now getting to the ANC, and all of this, with all these cat and mouse games that are playing up, has basically caused a delay in voting for a new Joburg mayor. And today appears to be D-Day when this mayor will be elected. So, I'm not too sure, and perhaps you can point us in that direction. All these bones of contentions, all these games that are being played out, all the blame game that is actually taking place is absolutely doing us absolutely no good at all.
Indeed. One thing is for sure, which is that when coalitions are being established, you must never think of any ideology. When coalitions are being established, you must forget about party identities. It is about what politicians expect to get out of a government that is led by a coalition. The very same parties that criticizes each other, as long as there is something that they benefit out of a coalition, they can be able to come together. Of course, there should be continuation of the blame game because when another political party would behave in a manner that another political party does not benefit anything, obviously you'll get these parties blaming one another. So it's not a surprise at all. But what is at the heart of what is happening in these coalitions in Johannesburg and in some other metros has got nothing to do with the interest of the citizens. It has got a lot to do with how politicians themselves want to access political power and state resources. That is the beginning and the end of it.
Yes, but what we're also seeing, like we've seen two central coalitions operating within the Johannesburg City Council. We know the one that is led by the DA, the other one is led by the ANC. And within these coalition partners, there is disagreement. Like, for example, the DA have already announced Popalatse as his candidate, and within the same coalition, you've got Action SA and some of the other parties supporting another candidate for mayor as well. And what we will be possibly seeing is about maybe three or four candidates putting their hands up for the mayorship. And we know what we've learned as far as the process is concerned, that there will be process of elimination according to the rules and the regulations that govern the voting in of the mayor. But ultimately, if there is a deadlock, an important position like the mayor could even be decided by the toss of a coin.
Indeed, we're heading towards a very difficult situation in the city of Johannesburg. You will recall that with the Democratic Alliance, as long as they know that they've got the numbers, they would always insist that they should be the ones leading the coalition. And to a certain extent, that is informed by the fact that they would be looking at the patterns or the voting patterns, and they'll say we've got bigger numbers. Obviously, we should be the ones who are leading the coalition. At the same time, you have minority parties who are saying that is immaterial. As long as we are in the council, if we form a coalition, we should all be treated as equal partners. And that is the discussion that is killing, in my view, the spirit in these coalitions. And that is why also in the government of local unity, in the other coalition partners and those that are in the minority were saying last week through the voice of Colin Makobele that all minority party candidates are going to avail themselves for the mayoral position. And that says that the mindset of the minority parties is that they want to be treated equally. and they will make demands as long as they are in a coalition. Some would say these demands are unrealistic. Some will say it's because they are equal. But at the end of the day, they do not take the council forward, and the citizens remain the victims of what is happening.
Well, we've seen a bitter lesson being learned with the appointment of Tapelo Ahmed from the Al Jamaa party, which is a minority party. And we've seen that as a major failure. And again, it's about people, it's about personalities, and it's not about the best person for the job.
It is unfortunate that, in the eyes of the minority, they will insist that they should be treated as equal partners with other parties that have got bigger numbers. Remember, when you only have got one seat and you are elected as a mayor, you need to please the opposition. You need to be accountable to the coalition partners. You still have to be accountable to your own party. And at the same time, you must satisfy all the citizens. And remember, when you only have got one seat, it is very clear that you have been voted into that council by very few people. Your influence in the council, your influence in the coalition is also very minimal. And therefore, you are easily bound to fail. Another aspect is that when you know you've got one seat, why would you even consider becoming a mayor? Because the risks of being removed are very high. And that is the main source of instability and poor governance in our metros. And I think our minority parties should be able to understand these things and understand that citizens are not benefiting anything out of this behavior.
Well, let's see what develops today, Levin, though, in the Johannesburg City Council, whether we are going to eventually get to that point where the coin is going to be tossed, because, I would hate for something like that, obviously, to happen. And, it's like, it's going to be like a lottery out there.
Indeed, it's going to appear, it's going to be like a lottery, but also at the same time, when you vote through a toss, the biggest possibility is that the lifespan of that governance can be shorter than we expected. It might not even last, in my view, a month.
Well, all eyes are on the city of Johannesburg today, and as always, Levi, we thank you for your time with us here on Salam Media. All the best to you, and I'm sure you are also waiting with bated breath to see what develops in the council today.
I will just be keeping my eyes there and my ears, and thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.
Levin Dow, a political analyst with us this morning, and against the voting in or the selection of or the election of the Johannesburg mayor today.